Hey everyone, I'm Jack from Cytonox, and I'm not gonna pretend like things are as they were. It's, been a little while. Well, maybe more than a little, but I'm thrilled to finally be back and have both the motivation and time to dedicate to this channel and make content you deserve. I know it's kind of a running gag for YouTubers to spawn in after going AWOL and promise a grand return and never going away again kind of thing, but I do genuinely have the drive I first felt when Alex and I started this channel in 2020. All the way back when Trump was president, Palestine and Israel were trying to chop each other's balls off, and Tottenham hadn't won a trophy. I guess things haven't really changed all that much. But enough yapping. Long story short is, I'm back guys, and I'm sorry for being gone for so long. And I'm back with a bang! In anticipation of the upcoming Doom The Dark Ages, Alex and I are planning on ranking the levels and bosses of every one of the first 3 Doom games to round out the canon series, along with our Doom 2016 and Eternal videos linked in the description below, beginning today with the granddaddy of the first-person shooter, Doom 1993. This game was an immersive experience with vast and expansive maps which inspired many, if not all of the FPS games I've played over the course of my life. I guess that was kind of an inane point after calling it the FPS granddaddy, but playing Doom gave me a much deeper respect for what it is. Though this is a subjective ranking, I will say this list is very arbitrary, so don't take any of the opinions too harshly. For me, there's only about 4 maps I outright dislike, and the rest all range from pretty to very good. It's also worth noting, or maybe warning, that I will not be including any maps from Die Flesh Consumed, and that I'm a vanilla Doom player on console. I'm not very hip to the Doom modding verse or post-release episodes like the Plutonia experiment, and I just wasn't a huge fan of Die Flesh. As for me, its levels would hog the bottom of this ranking, so I felt its inclusion would be somewhat unnecessary when also considering how universally it's disliked. But if you guys would like a level ranking including it, I guess I could make a separate video on just that episode if need be. Also, I played this and Doom 2 on Hurt Me Plenty, and not Ultraviolence. That's 2 strikes. I know. I'm a pussy. I'm chopped. I'm f***ed up. I need to get good. I hear you. But don't shoot me, because I did ask for suggested difficulties on r/Doom, and the general consensus was that for an objective difficulty standard, meaning equivalent to Ultraviolence in 2016 and Eternal, the originals should be played on Hurt Me Plenty. By that point, I had already beaten this game back to front without quick saving once, and I didn't even know sprinting was a thing until like the 5th mission of Inferno. Yeah. So I'd already basically done a challenge run, albeit unintentionally. And I had beaten the first half of Doom 2 on Ultraviolence with no cheats, which was maddeningly difficult, and what prompted me to ask if that was actually what everybody else was doing. Alas, I rebeat this game to get ample footage for this video, and apologize if my ranking doesn't align with experiences on other difficulty settings. As always, thank you to our incredible patrons who have stuck through this great Cytonox depression. On that note, be sure to check out both our Patreon and Discord, linked in the description below, and to not waste any more time than I already have, let's get into the ranking. Number 24, Slow of Despair. I had to look up the pronunciation for that word. Slow of Despair is a stark contrast from the almost invisible feeling Hellkey preceding it. This is arguably more the fault of Inferno's first mission, but frankly, you are not equipped to deal with the number of monsters present here, and I personally am not a huge fan of the map's general layout, especially given its confusing progression path. The biggest fault of Inferno, and I'd also say the city segment of Doom 2, is it feels like the level design at times compromised the grander vision of high stakes and rewarding combat for larger, more complex maps. The counter-argument that levels like this are intended to be speedrun and the enemy placements were done to ward off trying to get every kill and explore, I guess makes sense. But why? Isn't the whole point to like rip and tear, you know? This trade-off didn't land in my opinion, as for me, classic Doom is at its best when it features tight corridors and labyrinthian arenas making use of the game's combat, not open maps with a dozen dead ends and hidden paths. The map is shaped like the hand of a demon. Cool idea, but unfortunately I find the enemy placements to be, again, really obnoxious. The secrets in this level are almost necessary to memorize, namely the chain gun in the back corner and the plasma gun near the pointer finger, but a bigger issue is ammo is scarce no matter what. Like, it got so bad at one point I had to fist a few Caco demons in the asshole just to keep going. And the map is riddled with lost souls, easily the most fucking annoying enemy in original Doom. To beat the level, you need to find the blue key tucked away in the pinky finger, and with that, you pretty much have the level beat. It has a 45-second par, which definitely favors the ignore the game argument, but what if I don't want to speedrun it? Or otherwise, don't know how to because it's my first time through? Or maybe even on my third time? I don't know. The ending teleporter randomly opens up right outside of the switch behind the blue key, which I embarrassingly forgot about and ended up just running around for like 3 minutes. I'm not letting that impact this ranking for the record. Slow of Despair isn't terrible, necessarily, it's just cramped and feels like it's working against you. Maybe this should have been the first sign of Sandy Peterson's impending mental decay. Number 23. Limbo. I think off the bat the most annoying part of this level is the soundtrack, funnily enough titled Waltz of the Demons, which is like calling a peanut butter sandwich a ham and cheese sandwich. I don't know, man, a xylophone doesn't exactly scream hell and death to me. Alex and I always joke about original Demon's Souls soundtrack, and this is the most non-Demon's Souls song ever. This would totally be paired with a boss called like Chaos King. Anyways, Limbo is the first of a few maps, most of which are in Inferno, unsurprisingly, which I'd qualify as noticeably expansive and even creative. However, creativity is somewhat of a double-edged sword for me in older games, as the mechanical limitations often force unique features to come at the price of something else, as I said above. For me, the biggest problem in older Doom games is unclear direction with puzzles. Not necessarily a flaw, I credit the devs for trying new things, but simply the game is primitive when compared to its successors, and the routes you're supposed to take to progress just aren't really shown with much clarity because of its simplicity. Limbo works like a giant labyrinth if the labyrinth wasn't a connected maze but a series of points. The map is filled with teleporters hidden in pools of blood which sap away 5% health and armor a second. A pretty annoying feature in my opinion that adds tension but after a while just serves as artificial difficulty for the lack of enemies. In its defense, there are radiation suits throughout, but most are clumped in the underground maze, meaning if you want to avoid taking too much poison damage by the end of the level, you'll have to consistently return to the maze over and over again. Because this level is incredibly confusing, and though a decent concept, it's just doing too much for me. There are too many teleporters and the progression route is incredibly unclear. The combat is also again somewhat of an afterthought. There's a Baron of Hell and a couple surprise Cacodemon arenas, but for the most part you'll just be running in circles listening to this. Forever. I'm just not a huge fan of the way Limbo implemented the teleporting concept. Mechanically it works, but spreading it out among like 10 to 12 different spots, some of which are dead ends, all of which are only parts of a larger puzzle, makes it both redundant and time consuming. Again, with the soundtrack turning this experience from teetering on annoying to utterly obnoxious unless you put the game on mute. Once you beat it, you feel accomplished, but for this to be the final non-boss level of the game is a major disappointment. Number 22, Unholy Cathedral. I hope it isn't that surprising to see straight Inferno at the rear of this list. Unholy Cathedral, based on my research, seems to have a small pool of fans, which I can understand. I think with enough practice I'd have this level memorized back to front, but that's kind of my problem with it. It is made to be as confusing as possible, with every logical progression route spawning you at that same goddamn courtyard, and every unexplained, illogical route being the way to move on. I can accept being called an idiot or whatever for not enjoying this level's trollish design, but to me, it just serves to waste your time. I don't particularly enjoy the mechanic either way, with the level having over 20 teleporters, all of which send you to the same point, except 4 specific ones opening secret doors with enemies and loot inside, including one with the yellow skull key, which opens up a door housing the chainsaw. But to progress, the devs intended for you to run through the red shrine thing in front of the barred door. The courtyard itself is entirely useless and only serves to confuse you. Duh. Once you do that, a new room will open up featuring crushers, of course, so be sure to save. I actually didn't make a point of this in the video, but I was terrible at remembering to save, so it was kind of a miracle I actually did here. I had to replay entire maps at times, sometimes 2 to get back to places I'd originally been at. Anyways, in the blue key room there's a fun, optional Pinky and Dimp arena, but otherwise the much appreciated exit to this mindfuck of a map. Number 21, Dis. I don't know. The final level of classic Doom is what it is, I guess. It's a giant, vacant space home to the infamous Spider Mastermind, as well as a few Cacodemons and Barons of Hell you can bait into infighting with the giant brain who makes pig noises. If you cheat and save like me, then the BFG 9000 will put the thing down in a matter of seconds. I'm also doing a mini boss ranking at the end, so I don't want to speak too much on the fight's mechanics, but Spider Mastermind is annoying as shit and takes quite a long time to kill, and as such, this unfortunately suffers for it. Number 20, Mount Erebus. Like Limbo, this is another lava-heavy level, but this time in the open, which doesn't make it that much better. This has a bit more variety in structures and gimmicks, like the one island whose bridge sinks into the lava, leaving you stranded against a horde of demons, including Le'Veon Bell in Cacodemon form. This level is deceptively small and features a few invulnerability orbs and radiation suits, so it's easier to traverse without taking too much damage compared to Limbo. Still, I don't like that the exit is some tiny door in a hidden hallway in a random building in the middle of the blood pool, or at least I think it's blood. It's definitely not lava to me because my mental image of lava is the Dark Souls lasagna. Anyways, this level epitomizes the classic Doom proverb, run into things and hit switches and hope something happens. There's a room you'll likely get trapped in that has a teleporter hidden behind a wall, for no reason, and you'll then run on top of a box and spawn inside a blue hallway, again, for no reason. The most criminal part of this level to me is the lack of medikits and stim packs, as otherwise it's alright, just not a great concept in my opinion, but still decent due to its relatively small size. Number 19, Refinery. Similar to the previous levels, this is a fairly confusing layout but with more redeeming qualities than the others, and it's slightly more concise, probably because it's in the shores of hell. I specifically love the strobe room near the end, as well as smaller one-off arenas like the explosive barrel room. Refinery is actually tiny and shouldn't take 6 minutes to beat like it took me. It doesn't feel very fluid. If anything, it's almost like a collage of ideas blended into some AI-generated nonsense. But I actually don't mind this level very much, whereas with the previous few, I'd say I felt genuine frustration at times. That giant meat block room almost made me forget I was playing Doom for a second. It felt straight out of Silent Hill. What would a Silent Hill Doom look like? What would the Doom Slayer's subconscious create? Hey, Bethesda, if you need a creative hire, you know where to find one. Number 18, Pandemonium. Pandemonium can proudly gloat as the first Inferno level to outrank a non-Inferno level. But to get serious, generally speaking, I actually do enjoy interconnected maps, and I think that's a distinction I maybe should have made earlier. Dark Souls is my favorite world design in gaming, for example. That takes a much different form than Doom, but the point still stands. I think part of what makes Knee Deep in the Dead so good, for example, is that its maps feel connected but succinct, enclosed and linear, not expansive, open, and multi-directional. Pandemonium is generally straightforward, but features a few connecting secrets and side rooms that are full of shells and handgun ammo, desperately needed after Slow of Despair. This maybe feels so satisfying at times because it's like rebounding from a bad night out with a gallon of cold water. It's still easy to lose your way here, but only if you're an exploration freak like me. It's a rare single key level, meaning you probably beat it in 5 minutes over the par. If you can't tell from my lack of frustration in my script, we're getting to the point of arbitrary no return. Don't blame me for this game being so good. Number 17, Containment Area. A big thing for me in levels is visual appeal, and I feel like this is one of the most mundane looking levels in the Doom series. That's not to say it's the sole reason why I have it where I do. Also the music. Maybe I'm just spoiled by Mick Gordon and co, but it just doesn't do it for me. I totally get that this was the original and the devs were still testing things out, and I'd even say it fits the level's vibe thematically, but it's just honestly not good in my opinion. Mellow chiptune just isn't my style, at least in terms of the gameplay. It feels about as polar opposite as a soundtrack can get. Besides Waltz of the Penis. Truthfully, I just think this level is boring. I mean, it's a containment area. Almost every enemy in this map is an imp, who by this point you should be comfortably demolishing with just a shotgun, and if you go for all of Deimos Anomaly's secrets, the plasma gun too. This level as a whole is inoffensive and at times exciting. I actually have more fun the longer I go, and definitely recommend scrounging for all the secrets. Just watch out specifically for the chainsaw room with all the lost souls. The containment area leads you on with its size and winding tunnels, but if you don't feel like sticking around or find yourself getting lost in the room with all those crates, what are those crates for, by the way? I saw the Martian, he didn't have any crates, but just remember that with the blue key you can get the red key and you don't have to explore too much. It's all right there, deceptively. Number 16, Central Processing. I really hope it isn't too big of a deal to have a Knee Deep in the Dead map this early into the video, but like I said in the previous segment, I basically enjoyed everything from that point onwards to varying degrees of I really like this to I love this. Central processing is pretty decent for the most part, and I'm actually not that against the Labyrinth section because for whatever reason I had a photographic memory with this game, at least with maps outside of Inferno, and I never really got lost. I like the progression route here, although it feels not as fluid as I prefer, with a lot of enemy spawns coming from surprise encounters rather than more complexly designed rooms. It's a gimmick that gets quickly old by the 9th time a shotgun guy siphons 15% of your health, although I did mess with the ending arena. Central processing is for me the most forgettable of the first episode's incredible lineup, and suffers because of its compatriots' insane quality. Number 15, Spawning Vats.
No, wait.
Nothing about this level really screams spawning vats to me. I try to be observant, but it just didn't track. I really like this map's layout. It almost unravels as you progress, something you'll notice happens a lot more with the highest ranking maps in this video. The spawning vats are the first of many levels that feel in some ways like refueling spots for ammo and health, featuring multiple boxes of rockets, bullets, shells, and vulnerability orbs and more that make progression through it rapid and almost cost-free. You may also notice that a big thing the levels higher in this ranking do is have more suitable item placements, as in invulnerability orbs followed directly by an arena, not an arena with one hidden in the corner. I did get stuck near the end of trying to find the yellow key, which I'll take the blame for. It's a pretty simple visual obstruction of walls blending into each other that makes it, for me, an understandable moment of confusion, but generally speaking this map is really straightforward. What does that secret red door switch do? The spawning vats are a relaxing but uninspiring map that I appreciate but wouldn't recommend as one to replay on its own, if that makes sense. Number 14, Hell Keep. Map. The map. This is what finishing quickly must feel like from a girl's POV. As the first map of an episode titled Inferno, this is pretty flat. The Hell Keep is harmless, so I don't have anything bad to say, more I just don't have anything to say. I like the music, I like the eye switch thingy, and I like harassing the Caco demon with a pistol. Grand old time. Number 13, Phobos Anomaly. The second boss arena of 3 is much better, but in large part because it doesn't have the spider mastermind. Phobos Anomaly starts off with a badass exploding barrel section full of pinkies. I just find the collective death animation so satisfying. It also has a secret soul sphere and rooms full of ammo and weapons in case you're starting from scratch, and even more munitions spread around each of the star-shaped boss arena's points. The Barons of Hell are pretty shocking for a new player, and while they aren't exceptionally challenging tactically or mechanically, it's still pretty thrilling with novelty. I love this map and all of Knee Deep in the Dead, for that matter. Number 12, Tower of Babel. The final boss arena slightly edges out Phobos Anomaly for its creative pillar design. I also appreciate that the Cyber Demon is a genuine challenge, at least in terms of relative endurance. Because the Shores of Hell has no BFG, it can take 2 to 3 minutes to kill this thing, even with great aim with the rocket launcher and plasma gun. I'm honestly not a huge fan of the Lost Souls because they can sneak up on you and eat a rocket in your face. Not like that happens regularly, but it has. Number 11, Hangar. I know I'm cooked. I love this level. Like, I genuinely would rate this as like a 9.2 out of 10, which should really point out two things. One, I have incredible recency bias and would be a terrible critic, but two, that simply this game has an unbelievable quality standard with its maps. I can't express how impactful this level is on the history of gaming. I mean, you've all heard it 1,000 times before, but once At Doom's Gate kicks in and the first zombie men and imps show up, it is thrilling like nothing I've ever felt besides the other Doom games, especially when you memorize all the secrets and can rock out with a full clip shotgun. The hangar is so impressive because it's not dense at all. It's actually quite simplistic and only has a few rooms, but it's just fun, fluid, and pumps you with adrenaline. If this ranking was on the greatness of maps, this might be on top of anything in the whole industry. I'm sorry if you feel that this should be higher, I just feel that objectively there are maps that have more to them. Nonetheless, thanks to this, we have gaming as we know it today. Number 10, Nuclear Plant. Much like the hangar, the nuclear plant is a very simple and quick level that is so enjoyable because of that. I actually forgot how to get the chainsaw after getting it in my first playthrough, but like the hangar, if you thoroughly explore, you'll be greatly rewarded with powerful weapons long before their non-secret reveal. The nuclear plant is very linear, but has just enough complexity to make it slightly more enjoyable than its predecessor for me. Maybe I'm simple, but I honestly wouldn't mind if every level was about this big. It's perfectly sized. Number 9, Command Center. Even though I didn't know how to sprint on my first playthrough, this was definitely the level that put me to the test the most, also because I didn't think saving was fair game. After beating it, I carried a confidence with me that led me to beating almost half of Doom 2 on Ultraviolence in like a not that impressive amount of time. If that's not self-belief, I don't know what is. Command Center is very much a combat-oriented onslaught designed as a maze, although in truth it's fairly easy to navigate. And no, not just because I got the computer map in the Baron of Hell arena. This houses one of my favorite rooms in classic Doom, the Zombie Man porch, at least that's what I call it. We may be witnessing the chain gun's peak. This room's followed soon after by what's essentially a shotgun refilling station that always has infighting between shotgun guys and lost souls, which I love. Another feature that makes this game so great. Enemy infighting is awesome, especially when it's lost souls. Fuck Lost Souls. Though this isn't the most difficult map out there, I think it's damn exciting, and I appreciate the option to sprint through it with just a chain gun in my thoughts. My crazy thoughts. Number 8, House of Pain. Surprise! I don't blame you if you're mildly upset, bewildered, what have you at seeing an Inferno map in the top 10. Barring the Crushers in the first arena, this is easily the most enjoyable and pain-free map of the whole episode, and a lot of it is simply from not doing too much. It has a wide variety of enemy encounters and arenas ranging from corridors to open-top gardens of flesh? If you could grow flesh organically, I think technically it would be a garden. I'm sticking with that. The names of Inferno's levels always make me laugh, but also fit with the world displays, which, like enemy infighting, is easily one of the best parts of this game. Why did they remove that feature? This is probably the most organically challenging map in Inferno. For me, the combat arenas play out super well and also make every weapon have its moments, well, besides the pistol obviously. And the fists. I should have mentioned that earlier, but I hate that Berserk packs reset you to your fists. My favorite segment is probably after the blue door up to the surprise Baron of Hell with the Soul Sphere. I'm a massive fan of this game's plasma gun and stick by it being one of the most powerful weapons in this series. Also, the chain gun is fantastic against Caco demons. This level has the feel and progression of the best of Knee Deep and Shores of Hell up until the puzzle ending. With memorization, it's not much different from any other segment, but it severely slows down this map's pacing, closing it on somewhat of a dud. The hallway after doesn't help either, and nor does me having an aneurysm trying to kill an imp. In general, I'm very split, just like this level. I love the first 75% of it, but frankly do not enjoy the ending. I've never said love in my life. In my opinion, this would have every right to be in the top 5, easily without the last few rooms, but with them, I feel like levels that don't feature unnecessary sequences just have to place above it. Number 7, Toxin Refinery. Though I love Hangar and Nuclear Plant all the same, Toxin Refinery is maybe my favorite example of John Romero's design ideology with classic Doom. The level operates very much like a loop, with a central point, the Toxic Pool, serving as the home base you return to progress. I've still never figured out the secrets to this level, namely that Soul Sphere, which is such a tease, man. I'm always salivating at that thing. But Toxin Refinery is full of short, packed paths, hidden combat arenas, and a climactic ending that really kicks Doom into second gear following the more tame first 2 levels. Number 6, Computer Station. Knee Deep in the Dead's second to last level starts off hot, which I love. Part of why I think this episode is so good is every level has varying moments of dynamism and unique pacing, but unlike Inferno, for example, the maps still have a consistent feel and design philosophy applied to them, which is maybe this episode's greatest achievement. I can't stand when games randomly switch up their level design, even if just for one map, just to make a point. Again, the city maps. Contrary to Inferno or the city, Computer Station has a central structure and a loop shape that makes the map feel like an unfolding book. Back on my first playthrough, I used to blow myself up when getting the secret rocket launcher. I didn't quick save between each chapter. I'm dog shit at this game, and you don't have to hate comment to let me know. I'm not really anymore. I'd actually say I'm quite good, to be honest, but I digress. Though this map is expansive, especially for the first episode, it's never overwhelming, and every room has a memorable landmark that makes backtracking simple and efficient. This is one of those maps that you don't even feel pressured to beat. Every time I run through the computer station, I'd actually say it's more of a gentle stroll. I want to find every secret and thoroughly explore every nook and cranny of it, which I rarely do because I'm an idiot. There's a special somebody who I hope is watching this video who I also put that word in there for. Bello! Number 5, Deimos Anomaly. It would be an anomaly seeing an Inferno map in anybody's top 5, but don't worry, we've covered that episode in its entirety. Deimos Anomaly is a thrilling bridge between the shorter, more primitive Knee-Deep in the Dead and the more advanced progression of the game taken by Romero & Co. with its second episode. Right off the bat, Deimos Anomaly introduces one of, if not the most famous enemy in the Doom series, the Caco Demon, with its asshole. I never knew there was an asshole until Alex told me that Hugo Martin told everybody that's what the gaping hole behind it is. So now I take a lot of visceral, debatably psychotic joy in trying to chainsaw them in the bootay. For a lesser skilled player, this map can be quite daunting. It immediately puts you against hordes of zombie men with just a pistol, and though this is far and away the pistol's most useful version in the whole series, it's still ass. There's no bigger feeling of relief than finding a stray shotgun and a few shotgun guys to get a steady stream of shells. Say that 3 times fast. With shotgun in hand, this map can be beaten pretty handily. I always grab the plasma gun from the hidden secret room at the beginning unlocked by the switches halfway through, and I would recommend getting this too. The plasma gun is bar none the best weapon in this game against everything short of the Cyber Demon and Spider Mastermind, so having it in your arsenal at the very first mission can make progress both fast and ammo efficient. Deimos Anomaly, much like Knee-Deep in the Dead's best levels, is simple but interactive. I love it and hope you guys do just as much as me. Number 4, Command Control. On my initial playthrough, this was my first wall. This map took me forever, at least relatively, and it was very much a necessary skill check after the generally passive opening few maps. This is the first map that introduces real verticality for one, and has far more enemies than Toxin Refinery. A big benefit here is to just learn the layout. I honestly can't explain how helpful it was to die over and over because now I practically can't, just from muscle memory. It's also a great introduction for the chain gun, which shreds the fodder demons, and its non-linear progression is done really well. I love when levels indirectly hint through item placement. The Souls games are fantastic at this, and here this is done with the radiation suit directing you towards the toxic basin. I always miss that Soul Sphere secret, but there's not much to say that hasn't already been said. Command Control is a classic map and easily one of the most effective and engaging in Doom. Number 3, Deimos Lab. Hopefully this isn't too controversial of a take, but I love Deimos Lab. I think, much like Command Control, this is a spike in difficulty from anything before it, especially with multiple major combat arenas, all featuring Lost Souls. These guys can suck it. It's easy to get overwhelmed as a new player, but remember the plasma gun? There's your out for basically any combat sequence. It's applicable to literally everything, although I personally stand by using the chain gun almost exclusively for Lost Souls. One of my favorite memories from my first playthrough was beating this level from scratch. It felt so rewarding overcoming it with bare bones because it's such a fair challenge. Deimos Lab has a bizarre layout, opening with a toxic pool and a sciencey sector leading into a circular, ancient layer type second half. This is one of the few levels I would recommend going out of your way to fully explore, especially given the computer map offered basically free of charge right at the beginning. Some parts are harder to reach than others, so don't overdo it if you're stressed, but this map is filled with incredibly useful items that, with its challenge, make it well worth your time. I love that Soul Sphere secret at the end, by the way. Great map. Number 2, Halls of the Damned. I mess with this level like I mess with True Fruit. A lot. This is one of the hardest maps to learn. It's incredibly labyrinthian and made to confuse, but for whatever reason, it's so much more enjoyable for me than other attempts at this style of design. I think, for one, it's much more rewarding and has items at most dead ends. It makes exploration worthwhile and consistently engaging, and every box is either a pinky, shotgun guy, or Caco demon lurking, preying on the Doom guy's neon green deer to roll up and make a meal of himself. I did die to the Crusher in the optional hallway part I wanted to check out for fun. I forgot that was there, but the Halls of the Damned are just filled to the brim with content, and in the most engaging way possible. Though it's again understandable to me if you aren't as big of a fan of this as I am, I just think this map rocks. Number 1, Phobos Lab. The best map in Doom seems to be consensus opinion, at least from my minimal research on forums and Reddit. To me, Phobos Lab epitomizes the pinnacle of classic Doom level design. Environmental traps, set pieces, and central structures. Bizarre but logical and linear progression. It's hard to get lost, but easy to not explore. In essence, it flows. This map is easily the most fluid of any, with the most consistent pacing and combat arenas. I think a lot of the later maps lose the individuality of rooms that Phobos Lab is a masterpiece in. For me, this is just simply the magnum opus of John Romero's level design. Phobos Lab represents everything I appreciate about classic Doom and solidifies Knee Deep in the Dead as the unquestioned best episode of Doom 93. Surprise! Boss fights are our bread and butter, and I felt I'd be remiss to not, at least semi-quickly, do a mini ranking of Doom's 3 infamous end-of-mission bosses. The catch is that these all serve as their own maps, so if you paid attention to the level ranking, you'd already know the order, I guess. But who cares? Let's get into it. Number 3, Spider Mastermind. The finale of what most people consider to be classic Doom, unfortunately, is also one of the worst bosses in the entire series. It's not bad enough to justify any hate speech, and it's also a boss in a 90s FPS game. Let's dampen our expectations a bit. We're not going to fight Slave Knight Gale. Spider Mastermind just manages to always hit you somehow with nothing, and you can't do anything about it. A decent player can utilize the BFG from close range, as the Spider Demon's hitbox is so wide it'll actually absorb all of the gun's rays. It will also pause from firing if you go out of its view, and even has rare but possible pain states. They were also nice enough to leave a mega armor right next to where he's standing in that center atrium thing, which is just about your only respite. You can actually bait the Caco Demons and Barons of Hell around the arena into infighting with the Spider Mastermind, which is cool and helpful, but if you're a save spammer like me, well, I guess I kind of made the point at the one point that I'm not really, but either way you'll have the BFG handy, which will do it in 4 to 5 shots from a safe distance. Number 2, Barons of Hell. The difference in my perspective with these guys, coming back after having beaten about half of Doom 2 on Ultra Violence, is pretty wild. The first time I fought the Barons, I was pooping my pants. What do you mean I have to kill 2 Barons of Hell with 50 shots of my pistol on a tiny ledge? Then, I had to go through rooms with 5 Pain Elementals and an Archvile, and all of a sudden, Barons of Hell were a pretty good deal. Either way, it was after my first death here during my first playthrough when I realized the arena was actually expansive and had tons of weapons throughout it, which is really cool and clearly laid the foundations for many of Doom's bosses moving forward. I feel like this fight is quite representative of Knee Deep in the Dead as a whole. It's generally simplistic, yet creative and semi-challenging. Plus, it's a gank. Maybe the first true 3D gank boss in gaming. At least this is the earliest one I can remember. Number 1, Cyber Demon. I don't think there was much competition. The Cyber Demon makes the first of its many appearances getting blown up into pixelated chunks of meat, and I'll even go as far as to say that, despite being an FPS boss from 1993, he's a decent time, carried by arena design and the threat he poses. Even with the Mega Armor and Soul Sphere, his rockets still have the power to 1 or 2 shot you, especially with the flashbang effect that probably will make you lock up when it happens. He's pretty easy to avoid even without the pillars, but I appreciate the physical elements to this fight, and the general fairness of it being a rocket launcher battle. Just don't blow yourself up. I had a blast fighting the Cyber Demon, no pun intended, and I can't wait to poop on his parade again in the Dark Ages. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed. I'm so happy to be back and can't wait to make more Doom content, finishing off with my most anticipated game in years, Doom: The Dark Ages. Remember to like and subscribe if you haven't, and be sure to check back in soon as we continue to upload more Doom rankings. With all that said, deuces.